Hey there, Salt Strong family. This is Pat Ogletree, and I hope this finds you all happy, healthy, and safe. In this video, I want to talk about wake baits. I've noticed in the community over the past couple of weeks, there's been some posts asking about wake baits, when to use them, what situations they work good in, and I'd like to share some thoughts with you, along with a couple of examples of wake baits that I have, along also with modification that I do to them. Imagine that, a modification, that's what I do, right? So hang in there and we'll go right to the video. So here we got three examples of classic wake baits. This is a man's 1-, this is a man's baby 1-, and this is a head swimming image. The difference between the two is this one, as you can tell, it's more of a flat side, wide body, tall body lure. This one is going to have a tighter wobble when it's swimming through the top of the water column, and these, as you can tell, they're more teardrop shaped, so these are going to have a really wide wobble. Now, when you would use these, the difference between the two, the tighter wobble is going to be better in clearer water and calmer water. The wide wobble lures are going to be better when the wind is up and it's a little bit choppy. In general, wake baits work better in choppy conditions. I like to throw them whenever you're getting short strikes on top waters, or they're just coming up and boiling on them and they're not committing to the top water. Going down to a wake bait and going subsurface will help you draw more strikes out. And where these really shine is this time of year in the late summer and into the early fall. What happens is the grass will grow up and it almost tops out in these shallow water areas, and subsurface lures sometimes get tangled up when you go into a subsurface jerkbait like a MirrOlure or even a Catch 2000 type of lure. It'll dive a little bit too deep and you get hung up a lot. Well, these will hang out right at the surface, and you'll be able to work over those potholes in those shallow water areas. And especially when the wind is up, when you get a chop on the water, these are when they work really, really good. I prefer the Mans over any of the others. I just like the action of this lure. It's got a lot of vibration in it, and you can cast these really, really far. Even this is a small lure. This is not very big at all. It's only maybe 2.5 inches long. It's about 3/8 of an ounce, but you can cast this thing an incredible distance. This I believe is over 1/2 of an ounce, or it's right at 1/2 of an ounce, and it's about 3.5, 4 inches long. Now you want to select the lure to match the profile of the bait. So earlier in the year you'll use a smaller one. Later in the year you'll use a larger one, especially in the fall time. So match the profile and the color. You know, that's always, you know, one of those things that if you have a preference to a certain color, I just go lighter and darker and see which one works better, and I'll match the sky conditions typically with it, but let the fish tell you what they want. One of the first things I do to it is I will take the split ring off. So what you want to do is you want to tie a snug knot to this using monofilament line, and that's going to keep this hook from coming up and wrapping around that line whenever you're reeling it straight in. Another thing I do is I'll switch out the treble hooks to inlines, and I'll try to match the hook size to the bait size. So these little small ones, these are #1 single inlines. These are owners. And then the larger Mans 1-, these are 1/0 mustads. Now the mustads have a tendency to run a little bit larger. If that was an owner, I'd probably go up to a 2/0. But these 1/0 mustads fit this lure really, really nice. These are #1 mustads. You can tell these are a little bit bigger than the owners. So they fit this little larger bait better than say the #1 owner. And you set the hooks up just like you would on a topwater, the front one facing forward and the back one facing backwards. Now the modification that I like to do to these Mans Baby 1-, these are kind of the original wake bait. What they originally designed for is to run 1 foot. That's what the 1- means. It runs 1 foot under the surface. So if you reel it in slow, it'll stay right at the surface of the water, and it'll just wiggle back and forth and create a wake. You'll see that V wake that comes off of it, and that V wake really attracts a lot of fish in. If you notice, like say mullet, when they're cruising along right at the surface, they'll create that V, and this mimics that perfectly. Now the issue with this is whenever you're trying to cover a lot of ground, and if you have to reel it in slow, it slows you down. You can't cover as much ground. So what I like to do with these, if you notice the bill on this is kind of pointed forward. Now what I like to do is I will just take a standard heat gun. This is my Harbor Freight $15 special, and what I'll do is I'll heat these up And this is just a plastic body, so you don't have to worry about doing any damage to them. Just keep the lure moving. And what you want to do is you want to heat that plastic up to where it gets soft, and you can bend it at the angle that you want to bend it at. Just keep moving the lure so you don't cook the paint. And just keep trying it until you'll feel it. The plastic gets soft, and you'll bend it with a pair of pliers. So I'm just going to keep heating this up and see if I got it where I need it. Yeah, there we go. So I'm bending it down. And then what I'm going to do is I want it close to about a 90-degree angle. So you can see what I did was I just bent that lure down like this. Now what that's going to do is you can start reeling this in and working this lure faster, and it's not going to dive as deep. All you have to do is just bend that lure down and keep bending it, and you can tune these lures. If you bend it and it doesn't give you the action that you want, or it still dives a little bit too deep, you can heat it up and bend it again. Again, it's a plastic body. As long as you don't overheat it or try to bend it when it's still hard, you can bend these things multiple times. I've actually bent this one probably 5 or 6 times, so it's still good to go. The most important thing is make sure whenever you're bending this that this is square to the lure, or you'll have it kind of run sideways, or it'll start rolling up on its side. This one looks like it might be off just a little bit. I can modify that, but yeah, this you're taking basically a lure that's going to run a foot under the water, and with this modification, it'll run right at the surface of the water as fast as you want it to go. And it's a really good trick. It works out great. It'll save you some money. So these are only maybe $5 or $6. There's some great baits out there like the 6 cents wake bait. But you're looking at, $12, $13. It's a great bait, but, I could buy 2 of these for one of those, and I think they do just as good a job. But I just thought I'd share this with you, and if you have any questions, just leave it in the comments below, and I'd like to hear from you what your thoughts are. But I appreciate you watching. Thanks. Bye.